Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are today, tonight, afternoon. Hi. Welcome back. Hello. Today, I wanted to read some more Good Omens. How's everybody feeling about that? Where is it? I need to reorganize my bookshelf, but Good Omens, and watch cartoons, obviously, and that also means that I want to change the background music to something spoopy. Spoopy? What's the vibe? Haunted Carousel? Let's try Haunted Carousel.
And so now that I got the sketch on paper, I can basically just take a photo of that.
Let's try an ad.
And
Haunted Carousel is pretty cool. Now it's making me want to read Stephen King. No, I'm not going to be what I was yesterday, which I had to delete the VOD because everything was slow and glitchy and I had to figure out my VPN. I ended up just refunding it. So, really happy about that. Very, very happy. Okay, so today, like I said, Good Omens. It's not like a spooky book. Just about angels and demons and the end of the world and the Antichrist. It's in a funny way though. In funny. So now, let's get into our book today. Good Omens. Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. And Timeless Classic Cartoons. Let's friggin' go. Okay, so far, the characters that we met are... So we have Crowley, which is the fallen angel from heaven that is now a demon in hell, like Lucifer type guy. Aziraphale, they're kind of friends. Aziraphale is the angel. Crowley was the one who got Eve to eat the apple. And then Aziraphale saw that they were about to be like fucked because she ate the apple, so he gave them his flaming sword. And then we went to far into the future, the 20th century, and they're like, okay, it's time for the Antichrist to be born. And they gave the job to Crowley. The demons gave the job to Crowley, and Crowley's like, I have to fucking drop the baby off, what the shit? But he's doing it anyways because he doesn't want to get in trouble. So now they're at the church or the nunnery, and there's a woman giving birth and her husband's there. Their names have probably been said. My memory is Poopy. Poopy with a little bit of doo-doo. Mr. Young. Mr. Young is the man that's about to have a baby as his wife, which I'm assuming is just Mrs. Young. Mrs. Young. She's giving birth, and that's where we're at. The nuns agreed. They saw no reason for the father to be involved in the proceedings. When he thought about it, Mr. Young mused, they probably saw no reason why the father should be involved at all anywhere. He finished thumbing the so-called tobacco into the pipe and glared at the little sign on the wall of the waiting room that said that, for his own comfort, he would not smoke. For his own comfort, he decided, he'd go and stand in the porch. If there was a discreet shrubbery for his own comfort out there, so much the better. He wandered down the empty corridors and found a doorway that led out onto a rain-swept courtyard full of righteous dustbins. He shivered and cupped his hands to light his pipe. It happened to them at a certain age, wives. 25 blameless years, then suddenly they were going off and doing these robotic exercises in pink socks with the feet cut out, and they started blaming you for never having had to work for a living. It was hormones or something. Okay. See, this community loves a wife guy. Marry people you like being around. I don't like the way he's thinking about his wife, especially as she's giving birth right now. And with nuns. In a nunnery. A large black car skidded to a halt by the dustbins. A young man in dark glasses. That's Crowley, by the way. Crowley, we already know, wearing dark glasses if you missed the last reading. A young man in dark glasses leaped out into the drizzle holding what looked like a carry cot and snaked toward the entrance. Mr. Young took his pipe out of his mouth. "You've left your lights on," he said helpfully. The man gave him the blank look of someone to whom lights are the least of his worries, and waved a hand vaguely toward the Bentley. The lights went out. "That's handy," said Mr. Young. "Infrared, is it?" He was mildly surprised to see that the man did not appear to be wet, and that the carry cot appeared to be occupied. "Has it started yet?" said the man. Mr. Young felt vaguely proud to be so instantly recognizable as a parent. "Yes," he said. "They made me go out," he added thankfully. "Already? Any idea how long we've got?" "We?" Mr. Young noted. Obviously a doctor with views about co-parenting. "I think we were, getting on with it," said Mr. Young. "What room is she in?" So this is a complete miscommunication if you guys haven't caught on. Mr. Young and his wife are having a baby. That's a totally separate thing from where Crowley's supposed to drop off the Antichrist. Mr. Young and his wife are not supposed to be involved with the Antichrist, but Crowley's thinking Mr. Young is the one that's set to raise the Antichrist, and Mr. Young is like, I guess this dude in dark shades is a doctor. "I think we're getting on with it," said Mr. Young. "What room is she in?" said the man hurriedly. Crowley. "We're in room 3, said Mr. Young. He patted his pockets and found the battered packet which, in accord with tradition, he had brought with him. "Would we care to share a joyous cigar experience?" he said. But the man had gone. Mr. Young carefully replaced the packet and looked reflectively at his pipe, always in a rush, these doctors, working all the hours God sent. There's a trick they do with 1 pea and 3 cups which is very hard to follow, and something like it, for greater stakes than a handful of loose change, is about to take place. The text will be slowed down to allow the sleight of hand to be followed. Mrs. Deirdre Young is giving birth in delivery room 3. She is having a golden-haired male baby we will call Baby A. The wife of the American Cultural Attaché, Mrs. Harriet Dowling, is giving birth in delivery room 4. She is having a golden-haired male baby we will call Baby B. Sister Mary Loquacious has been a devout Satanist since birth. She went to Sabbath school as a child and won black stars for handwriting and liver. When she was told to join the Chattering Order, she went obediently, having a natural talent in that direction, and, in any case, knowing that she would be among friends. She would be quite bright if she was ever put in a position to find out, but long ago found that being a scatterbrain, as she'd put it, gave you an easier journey through life. Currently, she is being handed a golden-haired male baby we will call the Adversary, Destroyer of Kings, Angel of Bottomless Pit, Great Beast that is called Dragon, Prince of this world, Father of Lies, Spawn of Satan, and Lord of Darkness. Watch carefully. Round and round they go. "Is that him?" said Sister Mary, staring at the baby. "Only I'd expected funny eyes, red or green, or teensy-weensy little hoofykins, or a whittle tail." She turned him around as she spoke. No horns either. The devil's child looked ominously normal. "Yes, that's him," said Crowley. "Fancy me holding the Antichrist," said Sister Mary, "and bathing the Antichrist, and counting his little toesy-woesies." She was now addressing the child directly, lost in some world of her own. Crowley waved a hand in front of her wimple. Hello? Hello? What? This isn't it. That's not the voice. Hello? Hello? Sister Mary? Sorry, sir. He is a little sweetheart, though. Does he look like his daddy? I bet he does. Does he look like his daddy Waddykins? No, said Crowley firmly, and now I should get up to the delivery rooms if I were you. Will he remember me when he grows up, do you think? said Sister Mary wistfully, sidling slowly down the corridor. Pray that he doesn't, said Crowley, and fled. Sister Mary headed through the nighttime hospital with the adversary, destroyer of kings, angel of the bottomless pit, great beast that is called dragon, prince of this world, father of lies, spawn of Satan, and lord of darkness safely in her arms. She found a bassinet and laid him down in it. He gurgled. She gave him a tickle. A matronly head appeared around a door. It said, Sister Mary, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be on duty in room 4? Master Crowley said, just glide along, there's a good nun. Have you seen the husband anywhere? He's not in the waiting room. I've only seen Master Crowley, and he told me I'm sure he did, said Sister Grace Voluble. I'm sure he did, said Sister Grace Voluble, firmly. I suppose I'd better go and look for the wretched man. Come in and keep an eye on her, will you? She's a bit woozy, but the baby's fine. Sister Grace paused. Why are you winking? Is there something wrong with your eye? You know, Sister Mary hissed archly. The babies. The exchange. Of course. In good time. But we can't have the father wandering around, can we? Said Sister Grace. No telling what he might see. So just wait here and mind the baby. There's a dear. She sailed off down the polished corridor. Sister Mary, wheeling her bassinet, entered the delivery room. Mrs. Young was more than woozy. She was fast asleep, with the look of determined self-satisfaction of someone who knows that other people are going to have to do the running around for once. Baby A was asleep beside her. Weighed and name-tagged. Sister Mary, who had been brought up to be helpful, removed the name tag, copied it out, and attached the duplicate to the baby in her care. The babies looked similar, both being small, blotchy, and looking sort of, though not really, like Winston Churchill. Now, thought Sister Mary, I could do with a nice cup of tea. Most of the members of the Covenant were old-fashioned Satanists, like their parents and grandparents before them. They'd been brought up to it and weren't, when you got right down to it, particularly evil. Human beings mostly aren't. They just get carried away by new ideas, like dressing up in jackboots and shooting people, or dressing up in white sheets and lynching people, or dressing up in tie-dye jeans and playing guitars at people. Offer people a new creed with a costume and their hearts and minds will follow. Anyway, being brought up as a Satanist tended to take the edge off of it. It was something you did on Saturday nights, and the rest of the time you simply got to go on with life as best you could, just like everyone else. Besides, Sister Mary was a nurse, and nurses, whatever their creed, are primarily nurses, which had a lot to do with wearing your watch upside down, keeping calm in emergencies, and dying for a cup of tea. She hoped someone would come soon. She'd done the important bit, now she wanted her tea. It may help to understand human affairs to be clear that most of the great triumphs and tragedies of history are caused not by people being fundamentally good or fundamentally bad, but by people being fundamentally people. I like that. There was a knock at the door. She opened it. Has it happened yet? Asked Mr. Young. I'm the father, the husband, whatever, both. Sister Mary had expected the American cultural attaché to look like Blake Carrington or J.R. Ewing. Mr. Young didn't look like any American she'd ever seen on television, except possibly for the avuncular sheriff in the better class of murder mystery. Asterisk, with a little old lady as the sleuth and no car chases unless they're done very slowly. He was something of a disappointment. She didn't think much of his cardigan either. She swallowed her disappointment. "Oh, yes," she said. "Congratulations. Your lady wife's asleep. Poor pet." Mr. Young looked over her shoulder. "Twins?" he said. He reached for his pipe. He stopped reaching for his pipe. He reached for it again. "Twins?" "No one said anything about twins." "Oh, no," said Sister Mary hurriedly. "This one's yours. The other one's, someone else's. Just looking after him till Sister Grace gets back." "No," she reiterated, pointing to the adversary, destroyer of kings, angel of the bottomless pit, great beast that is called dragon, prince of this world, father of lies, spawn of Satan, and lord of darkness. "This one's definitely yours. From the top of his head to the tips of his hoofy woofies, which he hasn't got," she added hastily. Mr. Young peered down. "Ah, yes," he said doubtfully. "He looks like my side of the family. All, present and correct, is he?" "Oh, yes," said Sister Mary. "He's a very normal child," she added. "Very, very normal." There was a pause. They stared at the sleeping baby. "You don't have much of an accent," said Sister Mary. "Have you been over here long?" "About 10 years," said Mr. Young, mildly puzzled. "The job moved, you see, and I had to move with it." "It must be a very exciting job, I've always thought," said Sister Mary. Mr. Young looked gratified. Not everyone appreciated the more stimulating aspects of cost accountancy. "I expect it was very different where you were before," Sister Mary went on. "I suppose so," said Mr. Young, who'd never really thought about it. "Lutton, as far as he could remember, was pretty much like Tadfield. The same sort of hedges between your house and the railway station. The same sort of people. Remember, they are miscommunicating. They are confused about who they're talking to." She switched the baby with the accountant, Mr. Young and Deidre Young. She was supposed to switch the baby with the attaché, who's from America. She made a mistakey. "Taller buildings for one thing," said Sister Mary desperately. Mr. Young stared at her. The only one he could think of was the Alliance and Leicester offices. "And I expect you go to a lot of garden parties," said the nun. Ah, he was on firmer ground here. Deirdre was very keen on that sort of thing. "Lots," he said with feeling. "Deirdre makes jam for them, you know, and I normally have to help with the white elephant." This was an aspect of Buckingham Palace society that had never occurred to Sister Mary, although the pachyderm fitted right in. "I expect they're the tribute," she said. "I read where these foreign potentates give her all sorts of things." "I'm sorry?" "I'm a big fan of the royal family, you know." "Oh, so am I," said Mr. Young, leaping gratefully onto this new ice floe in the bewildering stream of consciousness. "Yes, you knew where you were with the royals, the proper ones, of course, who pulled their weight in the hand-waving and bridge-opening department, except for the royal who was besties with Jeffrey Epstein. Not the ones who went to discos all night long and were sick all over the paparazzi." "That's nice," said Sister Mary. "I thought you people weren't too keen on them. What with revoluting and throwing all those tea sets into the river." She chattered on, encouraged by the order's instruction that members should always say what was on their minds. Mr. Young was out of his depth and too tired now to worry about it very much. The religious life probably made people a little odd. He wished Mrs. Young would wake up. Then one of the words in Sister Mary's wittering struck a hopeful chord in his mind. "Would there be any possibility of me possibly being able to have a cup of tea, perhaps?" he ventured. "Oh my," said Sister Mary, her hand flying to her mouth. "Whatever am I thinking of?" Mr. Young made no comment. "I'll see to it right away," she said. "Are you sure you don't want coffee, though? There's one of those Vendible machines on the next floor." "Tea, please," said Mr. Young. It is possibly worth mentioning at this point that Mr. Young thought that paparazzi was a kind of Italian linoleum. My word, you really have gone native, haven't you? Said Sister Mary gaily as she bustled out. Mr. Young, left alone with one sleeping wife and two sleeping babies, sagged onto a chair. Yes, it must be all that getting up early and kneeling and so on. Good people, of course, but not entirely compost mentis. He'd seen a Ken Russell film once. There had been nuns in it. There didn't seem to be any of that sort of thing going on, but no smoke without fire and so on. He sighed. It was then that baby A awoke and settled down to a really good wail. Mr. Young hadn't had to quiet a screaming baby for years. He'd never been much good at it to start with. He'd always respected Sir Winston Churchill, and patting small versions of him on the bottom had always seemed ungracious. "Welcome to the world," he said wearily. "You get used to it after a while." The baby shut its mouth and glared at him as if he were a recalcitrant general. Sister Mary chose that moment to come in with the tea. Satanist or not, she'd also found a plate and arranged some iced biscuits on it. They were the sort you only ever get at the bottom of certain tea time assortments. Mr. Young's was the same pink as a surgical appliance and had a snowman picked out on it in white icing. "I don't expect you normally have these," she said. "They're what you call cookies. We call them biscuits." Mr. Young had just opened his mouth to explain that yes, so did he, and so did people even in Luton, when another nun rushed in breathless. She looked at Sister Mary, realized that Mr. Young had never seen the inside of a pentagram, and confined herself to pointing at baby A and winking. Sister Mary nodded and winked back. The nun wheeled the baby out. As methods of human communication go, a wink is quite versatile. You could say a lot with a wink. For example, the new nun's wink said, "Where the hell have you been? Baby B has been born, we're ready to make the switch, and here's you in the wrong room with the adversary, destroyer of kings, angel of the bottomless pit, great beast that is called dragon, prince of this world, father of lies, spawn of Satan, and lord of darkness, drinking tea. Do you realize I've nearly been shot?" And as far as she was concerned, Sister Mary's answering wink meant, "Here's the adversary, destroyer of kings, angel of the bottomless pit, great beast that is called dragon, prince of this world, father of lies, spawn of Satan, and lord of darkness, and I can't talk now because there's this outsider here." Whereas Sister Mary, on the other hand, had thought that the orderly's wink was more on the lines of, "Well done, Sister Mary, switched over the babies all by herself. Now indicate to me the superfluous child, and I shall remove it and let you go on with your tea. Get on with your tea, with His Royal Excellency the American culture." And therefore her own wink had meant, "There you go, dearie, that's baby B. Now take him away and leave me to chat His Excellency. I've always wanted to ask him why they have those tall buildings with all the mirrors on them." The subtleties of all this were quite lost on Mr. Young, who was extremely embarrassed at all this clandestine affection and was thinking, that Mr. Russell, he knew what he was talking about, and no mistake. Sister Mary's error might have been noticed by the other nun had not she herself been severely rattled by the Secret Service men in Mrs. Dowling's room, who kept looking at her with growing unease. This was because they had been trained to react in a certain way to people in long flowing robes and long flowing headdresses, and were currently suffering from a conflict of signals. Humans suffering from a conflict of signals aren't the best people to be holding guns, especially when they've just witnessed a natural childbirth, which definitely looked an un-American way of bringing new citizens into the world. Also, they'd heard that there were missiles in the building. Mrs. Young stirred. "Have you picked a name for him yet?" said Sister Mary archly. Said Mr. Young. "Oh, no, not really. If it was a girl, it would have been Lucinda after my mother, or Germaine. That was Deirdre's choice." "Wormwood's a nice name," said the nun, remembering her classics. "Or Damien. Damien's very popular." Anathema Device. Her mother, who was not a great student of religious matters, happened to read the word one day and thought it was a lovely name for a girl. Was 8.5 years old, and she was reading the book, capital T, B, under the bedclothes with a torch. Other children learned to read on basic primers with colored pictures of apples, balls, cockroaches, and so forth. Not the Device family. Anathema had learned to read from the book. It didn't have any apples and balls in it. It did have a rather good 18th century woodcut of Agnes Nutter being burned at the stake and looking rather cheerful about it. The first word she could recognize was nice. Very few people at the age of 8.5 know that nice also means scrupulously exact, but anathema was one of them. The second word was accurate. The first sentence she had ever read out loud was, I tell ye thith, and I charge ye with my words. For shall ride, and for shall alpho ride, and 3 shall ride the sky as twixt, and 1 shall ride in flames, and there shall be no stopping them. Not fish, nor rain, nor road, neither devil nor angel, and ye shall be there alpho anathema. Anathema liked to read about herself. There were books which caring parents who read the right Sunday papers could purchase with their children's names printed in as the heroine or hero. This was meant to interest the child in the book. In Anathema's case, it wasn't only her in the book, and it had been spot on so far, but her parents and grandparents and everyone back to the 17th century. She was too young and too self-centered at this point to attach any importance to the fact that there was no mention made of her children, or indeed any events in her future further away than 11 years' time. When you're 8.5, 11 years is a lifetime, and of course if you believed the book, it would be. She was a bright child with a pale face and black eyes and hair. As a rule, she tended to make people feel uncomfortable, a family trait she had inherited, along with being more psychic than was good for her, from her great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. She was precocious and self-possessed. The only thing about Anathema her teachers ever had the nerve to upbraid her for was her spelling, which was not so much appalling as 300 years too late. The nuns took baby A and swapped it with baby B under the noses of the attaché's wife and the Secret Service men by the cunning expedient of the wheeling one baby away. To be weighed, love, got to do that, it's the law. And wheeling another baby back a little later. The cultural attaché himself, which was the person who was supposed to get the Antichrist, but they give it to the other family on accident, miscommunication. The cultural attaché himself, Thaddeus J. Dowling, had been called back to Washington in a hurry a few days earlier, but he had been on the phone to Mrs. Dowling throughout the birth experience, helping her with her breathing. It didn't help that he had been talking on the other line to his investment counselor. At one point, he'd been forced to put her on hold for 20 minutes. As she's giving birth? To a human baby? But that was okay. No, it wasn't. Having a baby is the single most joyous co-experience that 2 human beings can share, and he wasn't going to... Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought he put his wife on hold. He put the investment counselor on hold. That is okay. But that was okay. Yes, it was. Having a baby is the single most joyous co-experience that 2 human beings can share, and he wasn't going to miss a second of it. He'd got one of the Secret Service men to videotape it for him. Just normalized body horror. I was talking to nanny, and I was talking to the mom the other day, and we were talking about how childbirth and not just childbirth, but pregnancy and all of that is just normalized body horror. I never want to have a child out from my body, from inside my body to then into the world. I don't want to do that ever. Evil in general does not sleep, and therefore doesn't see why anyone else should. But Crowley liked to sleep. It was one of the pleasures of the world, especially after a heavy meal. He'd slept right through most of the 19th century, for example. Not because he needed to, simply because he enjoyed it. Asterisk. Although he did not have to get up in 1832 to go to the lavatory. Although he did have to get up in 1832 to go to the lavatory. Happens to the best of us. One of the pleasures of the world, well, he'd better start really enjoying them now, while there was still time. Yeah, Crowley isn't really looking forward to the end of the world because he said he's been enjoying the 20th century. I think the century he said he was like whatever on was the 14th century, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was one of the reasons he was like super hesitant about delivering the baby. Yeah, Crowley isn't looking forward to the end of the world, which understood, you know. It's not fun to live through. Who's enjoying living through the end of the world? Who's enjoying it? I mean, doing this, reading out loud, I get to do it as a nanny, but I enjoy being able to read, you know, adult books. Like books for my brain, not for a 1-year-old's brain. And I also enjoy just making commentary, because why not? Holy shit. Holy shrimples. The Bentley roared through the night, heading east. Of course, he was all in favor of Armageddon in general terms. If anyone had asked him why he'd been spending centuries tinkering in the affairs of mankind, he'd have said, oh, in order to bring about Armageddon and the triumph of hell. But it was one thing to work to bring it about, and quite another for it to actually happen. Crowley had always known that he would be around when the world ended, because he was immortal and wouldn't have any alternative. But he hoped it would be a long way off. Because he rather liked people. It was a major failing in a demon. Oh, he did his best to make sure their short lives miserable, because that was his job. But nothing he could think up was half as bad as the stuff they thought up themselves. They seemed to have a talent for it. It was built into the design somehow. They were born into a world that was against them in 1,000 little ways, and then devoted most of their energies to making it worse. Jeez. Over the years, Crowley had found it increasingly difficult to find anything demonic to do which showed up against the natural background of generalized nastiness. There had been times over the past millennium when he'd felt like sending a message back below saying, look, we may as well give up right now. We might as well shut down and pandemonium and everywhere and move up here. There's nothing we can do to them that they don't do themselves, and they do things we've never even thought of, often involving electrodes. They've got what we lack. They've got imagination, and electricity, of course. One of them had written it, hadn't he? Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. Crowley had got a commendation for the Spanish Inquisition. He had been in Spain then, mainly hanging around cantinas in the nicer parts, and hadn't even known about it until the commendation arrived. He'd gone to have a look and had come back and got drunk for a week. That Aronimus Bosch, what a weirdo. I am doing my best to say these names. And just when you'd think they were more malignant than ever hell could be, they could occasionally show more grace than heaven ever dreamed of. Often the same individual was involved. It was this free will thing, of course. It was a bugger. Aziraphale had tried to explain it to him once. The whole point, he'd said, this was somewhere around 1020 when they'd first reached their little arrangement. The whole point was that when a human was good or bad, it was because they wanted to be. whereas people like Crowley and, of course, himself, Aziraphale is the angel, Crowley is the demon, if we forgot. Whereas people like Crowley and, of course, himself, Aziraphale, were set in their ways right from the start. People couldn't become truly holy, he said, unless they also had the opportunity to be definitively wicked. Crowley had thought about this for some time, and around about 1023 had said, hang on, that only works, right, if you start everyone off equal, okay? You can't start someone off in a muddy shack in the middle of a war zone and expect them to do as well as someone born in a castle. Ah, Aziraphale had said, that's the good bit. The lower you start, the more opportunities you have. Crowley had said, that's lunatic. No, said Aziraphale, it's ineffable. Aziraphale, the enemy, of course, but an enemy for 6,000 years now, which made him a sort of friend. They are. They're kind of buddies. Crowley reached down and picked up the car phone. Being a demon, of course, was supposed to mean you had no free will, but you couldn't hang around humans for very long without learning a thing or two. Mr. Young had not been too keen on Damien or Wormwood, or any of Sister Mary Loquacious's other suggestions, which had covered half of hell and most of the golden years of Hollywood. Well, she said finally, a little hurt, I don't think there's anything wrong with Errol or Carrie. Very nice American names, both of them. I had fancied something more, well, traditional, explained Mr. Young. We've always gone in for good, simple names in our family. Sister Mary beamed. That's right. The old names are always the best, if you ask me. A decent English name like people had in the Bible, said Mr. Young. Matthews, Mark, Luke, or John, he said speculatively. Sister Mary winced. Only they've never struck me as very good Bible names, really, Mr. Young added. They sound more like cowboys and footballers. Saul's nice, said Sister Mary, making the best of it. I don't want something too old-fashioned, said Mr. Young. Or Cain. Very modern sound. Cain, really. Sister Mary tried. Mr. Young looked doubtful. Or there's always Adam, said Sister Mary. That should be safe enough, she thought. Adam? Said Mr. Young. It would be nice to think that the Satanist nuns had the surplus baby bee discreetly adopted, that he grew to be a normal, happy, laughing child, active and exuberant, and after that grew further to become a normal, fairly contented adult. And perhaps that's what happened. Let your mind dwell on this junior school prize for spellings. Nope. Let your mind dwell on his junior school prize for spelling. His unremarkable, although quite pleasant time at university, his job in the payroll department of the Tadfield and Norton Building Society, his lovely wife. Possibly, you would like to imagine some children and a hobby, restoring vintage motorcycles perhaps, or breeding tropical fish. You don't want to know what could have happened to Baby B. We like your version better anyway. He probably wins prizes for his tropical fish. In a small house in Dorking, Surrey, a light was on in a bedroom window. Newton Pulsifer was 12 and thin and bespectacled, and he should have been in bed hours ago. His mother, though, was convinced of her child's genius and let him stay up past his bedtime to do his experiments. His current experiment was changing a plug on an ancient Bakelite radio his mother had given him to play with. He sat at what he proudly called his worktop, a battered old table covered in curls of wires, batteries, little light bulbs, and a homemade crystal set that had never worked. He hadn't managed to get the Bakelite radio working yet either, but then again, he never seemed able to get that far. 3 slightly crooked model airplanes hung on cotton cords from his bedroom ceiling. Even a casual observer could have seen that they were made by someone who was both painstaking and very careful, and also no good at making model airplanes. He was hopelessly proud of all of them, even the Spitfire, where he'd made rather a mess of the wings. He pushed his glasses back up the bridge of his nose, squinted down at the plug, and put down the screwdriver. He had high hopes for it this time. He had followed all the instructions on plug changing on page 5 of the boy's own book of practical electronics, including 101 safe and educational things to do with electricity. He had attached the correct color-coded wires to the correct pins. He'd checked that it was the right amperage fuse. He'd screwed it all back together. So far, no problems. He plugged it into the socket, then he switched the socket on. Every light in the house went out. Newton beamed with pride. He was getting better. Last time he'd done it, he'd blacked out the whole of Dorking, and a man from the electric had come over and had a word with his mum. He had a burning and totally unrequited passion for things electrical. They had a computer at school, and half a dozen studious children stayed on after school doing things with punched cards when the teacher in charge of the computer had finally acceded to Newton's pleas to be allowed to join them. Newton had only ever got to feed one little card into the machine. It had chewed it up and choked fatally on it. Newton was certain that the future was in computers, and when the future arrived, he'd be ready, in the forefront of the new technology. The future had its own ideas on this. It was all in the book. Atom, thought Mr. Young. He tried saying it to see how it sounded. Atom. He stared down at the golden curls of the adversary, destroyer of kings, angel of the bottomless pit, great beast that is called dragon, prince of this world, father of lies, spawn of Satan, and lord of darkness. You know, he concluded after a while, I think he actually looks like an atom. Space. It had not been a dark and stormy night. The dark and stormy night occurred 2 days later, about 4 hours after both Mrs. Dowling and Mrs. Young had their respective babies, and their respective babies had left the building. It was a particularly dark and stormy night, and just after midnight, as the storm reached its height, a bolt of lightning struck the convent of the Chattering Order, setting fire to the roof of the vestry. No one was badly hurt by the fire, but it went on for some hours, doing a fair amount of damage in the process. The instigator of the fire lurked on a nearby hilltop and watched the blaze. He was tall, thin, and a Duke of Hell. It was the last thing that needed to be done before his return to the nether regions, and he had done it. He could safely leave the rest to Crowley. Hastur went home. So Hastur is the Duke of Hell. The Duke of Hell's name is Hastur. Technically, Aziraphale was a principality, but people made jokes about that these days. On the whole, neither he nor Crowley would have chosen each other's company, but they were both men, or at least men-shaped creatures, of the world, and the arrangement had worked to their advantage all this time. Besides, you grew accustomed to the only other face that had been around more or less consistently for 6 millennia. The arrangement was very simple, so simple in fact that it didn't really deserve the capital letter, which it had gotten for simply being in existence for so long. It was the sort of sensible arrangement that many isolated agents, working in awkward conditions a long way from their superiors, reach with their opposite number when they realize that they have more in common with their immediate opponents than their remote allies. It meant a tactic non-interference in certain of each other's activities. It made certain that while neither really won, also neither really lost, and both were able to demonstrate to their masters the great strides they were making against a cunning and well-informed adversary. It meant that Crowley had been allowed to develop Manchester, while Aziraphale had a free hand in the whole of Shropshire. Crowley took Glasgow, Aziraphale had Edinburgh. Neither claimed any responsibility for Milton Keynes. Note for Americans and other aliens. Milton Keynes is a new city approximately halfway between London and Birmingham. It was built to be modern, efficient, healthy, and all in all, a pleasant place to live. Many Britons find this amusing. But both reported it as a success. And then, of course, It had seemed even natural that they should, as it were, hold the fort for one another whenever common sense dictated. Both of angel stock, after all. Both were of angel stock, after all. Yeah, because Crowley was an angel, and then he fell. He's a fallen angel. A demon. If one was going to hole for a quick temptation, it made some sense to nip across the city and carry out a standard brief moment of divine ecstasy. It'd get done anyway, and being sensible about it gave everyone more free time and cut down on expenses. Aziraphale felt the occasional pang of guilt about this, but centuries of association with humanity was having the same effect on him as it was on Crowley, except in the other direction. Besides, the authorities, capital A, didn't seem to care much who did anything, so long as it got done. Currently, what Aziraphale was doing was standing with Crowley by the duck pond in St. James Park. They were feeding the ducks. The ducks in St. James Park are so used to being fed bread by secret agents meeting clandestinely that they have developed their own Pavlovian reaction. Put a St. James Park duck in a laboratory cage and show it a picture of two men, one usually wearing a coat with a fur collar, the other something somber with a scarf, and it'll look up expectantly. The Russian cultural attaché's black bread is particularly sought after by the more discerning duck, while the head of the Mi-9 soggy hovis with marmite is relished by the connoisseurs. Aziraphale tossed a crust to a scuffy-looking drake, which caught it and sank immediately. The angel turned to Crowley. "Really, my dear," he murmured. "Sorry," said Crowley. "I was forgetting myself." The duck bobbed angrily to the surface. "Of course we knew something was going on," Aziraphale said. "But one somehow imagines this sort of thing happening in America. They go in for that sort of thing over there." "It might yet do at that," said Crowley gloomily. He gazed thoughtfully across the park to the Bentley, the back wheel of which was being industriously clamped. "Oh yes, the American diplomat," said the angel. "Rather showy, one feels, as if Armageddon was some sort of cinematographic show that you wish to sell in as many countries as possible." "Every country," said Crowley, "the earth and all the kingdoms thereof." Aziraphale tossed the last scrap of bread at the ducks, who went off to pester the Bulgarian naval attaché and a furtive-looking man in a Cambridge tie, and carefully disposed of the paper bag in a waste-paper bin. He turned and faced Crowley. "We'll win, of course," he said. "You don't want that," said the demon. "Why not, pray? Why not, pray?" "Listen," said Crowley desperately. "How many musicians do you think your side have got, huh? First grade, I mean." Aziraphale looked taken aback. "Well, I should think," he began. "Two," said Crowley. "Elgar and Liszt. That's all. We've got the rest. Beethoven, Brahms, all the Bachs, Mozart, the lot. Can you imagine eternity with Elgar?" Aziraphale shut his eyes. "All too easily," he groaned. "That's it then," said Crowley with a gleam of triumph. He knew Aziraphale's weak spot all right. No more compact discs, no more Albert Hall, no more proms, no more Glindborn, just celestial harmonies all day long. "Ineffable," Aziraphale mumbled. Okay, I'm gonna turn the music up a bit. "Ineffable," Aziraphale murmured. "Like eggs without salt, you said. Which reminds me. No salt, no eggs, no gravlax with dill sauce, no fascinating little restaurants where they know you, no Daily Telegraph crossword, no small antique shops, no bookshops either. No interesting old editions." No, Crowley scraped the bottom of Aziraphale's barrel of interest. "Regency silver snuff boxes. But after we win, life will be better," croaked the angel. "But it won't be as interesting. Look, you know I'm right. You'd be as happy with a harp as I'd be with a pitchfork. You know we don't play harps. And we don't use pitchforks. I was being rhetorical." They stared at one another. Aziraphale spread his elegantly manicured hands. My people are more than happy for it to happen, you know. It's what it's all about, you see. The great final test. Flaming swords, the 4 horsemen, seas of blood, the whole tedious business. He shrugged. And then game over, insert coin? Said Crowley. Sometimes I find your methods of expression a little difficult to follow. I like the seas as they are. It doesn't have to happen. You don't have to test everything to destruction just to see if you made it right. Aziraphale shrugged again. That's ineffable wisdom for you, I'm afraid. The angel shuddered and pulled his coat around him. Gray clouds were piling up over the city. Let's go somewhere warm, he said. You're asking me? Said Crowley glumly. You're asking me? They walked in somber silence for a while. It's not that I disagree with you, said the angel as they plodded across the grass. It's just that I'm not allowed to disobey. You know that. Me too, said Crowley. Aziraphale gave him a sidelong glance. Oh, come on now, he said. You're a demon after all. Yeah, but my people are only in favor of disobedience in general terms. It's specific disobedience they come down on heavily. Such as disobedience to themselves? You've got it. You'd be amazed. Or perhaps you wouldn't be. How long do you think we've got? Crowley waved a hand at the Bentley, which unlocked its doors. The prophecies differ, said Aziraphale, sliding into the passenger seat. Certainly until the end of the century, although we may expect certain phenomena before then. Most of the prophets of the past millennium were more concerned with scansion than accuracy. Crowley pointed to the ignition key. It turned. What? He said. You know, said the angel helpfully, and the world unto an end shall come, in Tumpty 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 1, or 2, or 3, or whatever. There aren't many good rhymes for 6, so it's probably a good year to be in. And what sort of phenomena? 2-headed calves, signs in the sky, geese flying backwards, showers of fish, that sort of thing. The presence of the Antichrist affects the natural operation of causality. Crowley put the Bentley in gear. Then he remembered something. He snapped his fingers. The wheel clamps disappeared. Let's have lunch, he said. I owe you one from, when was it? Paris, 1793, said Aziraphale. Oh yes, the Reign of Terror. Was that one of yours or one of ours? Oh yes, the Reign of Terror. Was that one of yours or one of ours? Wasn't it yours? Can't recall. It was quite a good restaurant, though. As they drove past an astonished traffic warden, his notebook spontaneously combusted to Crowley's amazement. I'm pretty certain I didn't mean to do that, he said. Aziraphale blushed. That was me, he said. I had always thought that your people invented them. Did you? We thought they were yours. Crowley stared at the smoke in the rearview mirror. Come on, he said. Let's do the Ritz. Crowley had not bothered to book. In his world, table reservations were things that happened to other people. Aziraphale collected books. If he were totally honest with himself, he would have to have admitted that his bookshop was simply somewhere to store them. He was not unusual in this. In order to maintain his cover as a typical secondhand bookseller, he used every means short of actual physical violence to prevent customers from making a purchase. Unpleasant damp smells, glowering looks, erratic opening hours, he was incredibly good at it. He had been collecting for a long time, and like all collectors, he specialized. He had more than 60 books of predictions concerning developments in the last handful of centuries of the second millennium. He had a penchant for wild first editions, and he had a complete set of the infamous Bibles, individually named from errors in typesetting. These Bibles included the Unrighteous Bible, so called from a printer's error which caused it to proclaim in 1 Corinthians, Know ye not that the unrighteous shall inherit the kingdom of God? And the Wicked Bible printed by Barker and Lucas in 1632, in which the word not was omitted from the 7th commandment, making it, Thou shalt commit adultery. There were the Discharge Bible, the Triacle Bible, the Standing Fishes Bible, the Charing would be 2 R's, the Charing Cross Bible, and the rest. Aziraphale had them all, even the very rarest, a Bible published in 1651. by the London publishing firm of Bilton and Skaggs. It had been the first of their 3 great publishing disasters. The book was commonly known as the Bugger Owl This Bible. The lengthy compositor's error, if such it may be called, occurs in the book of Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 5. 2. And by the border of Dan, from the east side to the west side, a portion for Aphor. And by the border of Aphor, from the east side even unto the west side, a portion for Naphtali. And by the border of Naphtali, from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Manasseh. Bugger owl, this for a lark, I am sick to my heart of type-fetting. Master Bilton, if no gentleman, and Master Skaggs no more than a tight-fisted Southwark knoboftic, I tell you, on a day like this, anyone with half an ounce of sense should be out in the sunshine and not stuck here all the lifelong day in this moldy old By Our Lady work fop. So it's typed like I'll change to camo. It's typed like this. Like all types of misspellings. It has all types of misspellings, so maybe I will read it without the misspellings. Like I work with children, so okay. Bugger all this for a lark. I'm sick to my heart of typing. Master Bilton is no gentleman, and Master Skaggs now more than a tight-fisted Southwark knoboftic. What is that? I tell you, on a day like this, anyone with half an ounce of sense should be out in the sunshine and not stuck here all the livelong day in this moldy old By Our Lady workshop. Fuck. Son of a bitch. And then there's an asterisk. So the asterisk after that says, the Bugger All This Bible was also noteworthy for having 27 verses in the 3rd chapter of Genesis instead of the more usually 24. They followed verse 24, which in the King James Version reads, So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life, and read 25, And the Lord spake unto the angel that guarded the eastern gate, saying, Where is the flaming sword which was given unto thee? 26, And the angel said, I had it here only a moment ago. I must have put it down somewhere. Forget my own head. Next, 27, And the Lord did not ask him again. It appears that these verses were inserted during the proof stage. In those days, it was common practice for printers to hang proof sheets to the wooden beams outside their shops for the edification of the populace and some free proofreading. And since the whole print run was subsequently burned anyway, no one bothered to take up this matter with the nice Mr. Aziraphale, who ran the bookshop 2 doors along and was always so helpful with the translation, and his handwriting was instantly recognizable. If you missed the beginning of the book, or even the beginning of this stream, I said that Aziraphale gave Adam and Eve his flaming sword. And by the border of Ephraim from the east side even unto the west side, a portion for Reuben. And Bilton and Skaggs' second great publishing disaster occurred in 1653. By a stroke of rare good fortune, they had obtained one of the famed Lost Quartos, the 3 Shakespeare plays never reissued into folio edition, and now totally lost to scholars and playgoers. Only their names have come down to us. This one was Shakespeare's earliest play, The Comedy of Robin Hood or The Forest of Sherwood, asterisk, The Trapping of the Mouse, and Gold Diggers of 1589. Master Bilton had paid almost 6 guineas for the quarto, and believed he could make nearly twice that much back on the hardcover folio alone. Then he lost it. Bilton and Skaggs' third great publishing disaster was never entirely comprehensible to either of them. Everywhere you looked, books of prophecy were selling like crazy. The English edition of Nostradamus' Centuries had just gone into its third printing, and 5 Nostradamuses, all claiming to be the only genuine one, were on triumphant signing tours, and Mother Shipton's collection of prophecies was sprinting out of the shops. Each of the great London publishers, there were 8 of them, had at least one book of prophecy on its list. Every single one of these books was wildly inaccurate, but their air of vague and generalized omnipotence made them immensely popular. They sold in the thousands and in the tens of thousands. "It is a license to print money," said Master Bilton to Master Skaggs, **, who had already had a few thoughts in that direction and spent the last years of his life in Newgate Prison when he eventually put them into practice. The public are crying out for such rubbish. We must straightway print a book of prophecy by some hag. The manuscript arrived at their door the next morning. The author's sense of timing, as always, was exact. Although neither Master Bilton nor Master Skaggs realized it, the manuscript they had been sent was the sole prophetic work in all of human history to consist entirely of completely correct predictions concerning the following 340 odd years, being a precise and accurate description of the events that would culminate in Armageddon. It was on the money in every single detail. It was published by Bilton and Skaggs in September 1655, in good time for the Christmas trade. *. Another masterstroke of publishing genius, because Oliver Cromwell's Puritan Parliament had made Christmas illegal in 1654. Really? I didn't know that. And it was the first book printed in England to be remaindered. It didn't sell. Not even the copy in the tiny Lancashire shop with local author on a piece of cardboard next to it. The author of the book, one Agnes Nutter, was not surprised by this, but then it would have taken an awful lot to surprise Agnes Nutter. Anyway, she had not written it for the sales, or the royalties, or even for the fame. She had written it for the single gratis copy of the book that an author was entitled to. No one knows what happened to the legions of unsold copies of her book. Certainly none remain in any museums or private collections. Even a Xerophile does not possess a copy, but would go weak at the knees at the thought of actually getting his exquisitely manicured hands on one. In fact, only one copy of Agnes Nutter's prophecies remained in the entire world. It was on a bookshelf about 40 miles away from where Crowley and a Xerophile were enjoying a rather good lunch. And metaphorically, it had just begun to tick. And now it was 3 o'clock. The Antichrist had been on Earth for 15 hours, and one angel and one demon had been drinking solidly for 3 of them. They sat opposite one another in the back room of a Xerophile's dingy old bookshop in Soho. Most bookshops in Soho have back rooms, and most of the back rooms are filled with rare, or at least very expensive books. But a Xerophile's books didn't have illustrations. They had old brown covers and crackling pages. Occasionally, if he had no alternative, he'd sell one. And occasionally, serious men in dark suits would come calling and suggest very politely that perhaps he'd like to sell the shop itself so that it could be turned into the kind of retail outlet more suited to the area. Sometimes they'd offer cash and large rolls of grubby 50-pound notes, or sometimes, while they were talking, other men in dark glasses would wander around the shop, shaking their heads and saying how inflammable the paper was and what a fire trap he had here. And Aziraphale would nod and smile and say he'd think about it, and then they'd go away and they'd never come back. Just because you're an angel doesn't mean you have to be a fool. The table in front of the two of them was covered with bottles. "The point is," said Crowley, the point is, he tried to focus on Aziraphale. "The point is," he said, and tried to think of a point. "The point I'm trying to make," he said, brightening, "is the dolphins. That's my point." Same. I want to keep reading, but it's getting late. What is it? It's like 1:22 Eastern. 1:22 Eastern time. Yeah, this seems like a good place to stop. Maybe I'll look into music of my own, because I also do want to sing. Is that a crime? Calling it a day, folks. Calling it a day, folks. Great read of Good Omens today. Obviously, we're going to be reading more. Tomorrow, Friday night, movie night, 9 p.m. Central. I'm not sure what we're watching yet. However, tomorrow I will have our Discord in the chat so that you can watch it along with us. I don't know if we're going to be doing Good Omens tomorrow. Possibly. Maybe. Maybe. Might be Stephen King. Might be Let the Dead Bury the Dead. I haven't decided. There's books that I'm looking at that I really want to get. However, I'm saving money to go back to school. So I also need to be filling out more scholarships. I got one so far, but I got two. Sorry, we're not giving you the scholarship emails today. Those aren't always fun. Those are never fun to get. So probably won't do scholarships shit on stream. See, I'm sleepy. Who let me stay up this late? So I shall see y'all tomorrow. Blast has been had. Bye.